And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Money Mitch, yet again. The Bears this time post a 40 burger, not just a 30 burger. I've been getting so many burgers the last few weeks, I'm on need a diet, Jake. 40 burgers for everybody. We got 30 burgers the last few weeks, and now the Chicago Bears win in convincing fashion in Jacksonville and moved to 8-7. They did their job. You know, in the first half, things were close. We talked a little bit about it on the pregame show, and for me, it wasn't a surprise that they were tested because the Bears always make things interesting. They play up and down to their competition. As bad as they look today, they could look like game busters next week. They fluctuate just as much as the weather does in this city. So, for anyone that was surprised that it was dicey at halftime, hasn't watched this franchise for the last 30 years, but they did their job ultimately in the second half. And Mitchell Trubisky had the worst mistake you could possibly have going into halftime tunnel, throwing the ill-advised pick after making the scrambling effort down. And then he comes and responds out of the halftime tunnel with a touchdown, 2 touchdowns back to back to put it away. And then the defense just kind of leaned on Mike Glennon in Jacksonville. And obviously they're a 1-15, 1-14 team for a reason. So, this is what the Bears were supposed to do. There's no victory laps about how the offense played today. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're functioning like a normal NFL franchise who puts up 30, 40 points on a bad team like Jacksonville. Now we all look to next week. The Green Bay Packers await on the lakefront for the right to go to the playoffs. And does that sound familiar, Bears fans? We have been here before more than a few times. Green Bay on the lakefront, your season on the line. I was at the game when Randall Cobb, had his infamous touchdown, and I look back at that game and think about how Jay Cutler, that was one of the final games. It was in the Trestman era, and Jay had never been able to slay the Green Bay Dragon, and he played great that day, and the defense just couldn't do enough to hold on. And then you have the NFC Championship game in 2010 where, Jake and I went to the divisional game against Seattle, and then the next week I was in the stands for the Bears-Packers NFC Championship game, and the Bears were the team that let Green Bay into the playoffs that year because the Bears had the better record at that time. The Bears had home field advantage, and the Packers were the team that ended up coming back, facing them in the NFC Championship and beating them. So there's a lot to talk about here today. I am your host, Gregory Braggs Jr. This is Braggs in the Stands, and this is my co-host, Jake, graphic design extraordinaire and super producer, my guy, Jake Kovanik, and we are here at Braggs in the Stands to talk about it all. We're going to talk about the Jags breakdown, of course, and talk about what we saw a little bit there. We're going to look into the Matt Nagy press conference and Mitchell Trubisky, see what they have to say. And then, of course, we're looking at Green Bay. We're already games over. I hope the team is the same way. As soon as that clock hits 0, they might be club dubbing, fine. As soon as the music stops, your sights are set on the Green Bay Packers and how do we beat them? Because obviously, even after a 40 burger and winning in convincing fashion, Jake, there's a lot of things that they can improve on both sides of the ball. How do you feel after seeing the Bears, do the expected and win the game, but where's your mindset at now going into Green Bay?
Pretty much where it was before the game. I feel like, they did what they were supposed to do. It had me a little worried coming into by halftime with the way that they were performing. The defense was giving up yards and things like that, but they settled down and they did what they were supposed to do in the second half. I expected them, just like you did. I think you called the game on the head, right? If I'm not mistaken. They did what they were supposed to do, and they beat an extremely inferior team. So kudos to them for that. And
100%. Now, I don't know what everybody's talking about in the chat with the Greg, your camera.
Your camera is terrible.
It's terrible?
Yeah, it was so nice earlier. Now it's pixelated and
it's
awful.
Pixelated, huh? Well, like I said, I have a brand new computer. It's terrible with a capital T.
This might be the worst it's ever looked.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well,
it looked good. It could look good earlier. It might just be your internet connection. You got other people streaming or doing things.
That could be, but I appreciate the input from everybody in the in the chat because I'm working hard at it. I just got a new camera. So, it's not easy. I'm trying to here. Let me see if I can switch it up for you guys. How's that, everybody, ladies and gentlemen? I'm trying to help you out. It's horrible. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Money Man Mitch is back on the scene, and that's who we're worried about. Not my beautiful shining face. We're worried about my man, Money Man Mitch, the man of the people. Drove his Honda, his Toyota.
Love hitting this one up.
I love this picture. He pulled this in, and he's ready to take us to the playoffs. And I'm there to ride with him here. We'll find out what is to come, but I got the Green Bay Packers in my sights, and I want to see this team. They've got a lot to work on. Obviously, they could have ran the ball better. Mitch could have played better. He had errant throws, a few almost picks that Bears Twitter are marking down as interceptions. And then of course the ill-advised pass, when he's scrambling, and then when they show the all 22 view, it's like, how in the world could you throw that? It's just a whole group of people there. I mean, ill-advised is putting it mildly.
Yeah, he just lobbed it up. You could even see it as he was throwing it that he wasn't even locked onto anybody. He just chucked the damn thing. So
yeah,
I don't know what he was thinking on that.
It was a little intense. But like I said, then you learn from it in a winning effort. And I know there's a lot of people probably screaming at the TV right now going, well, fourth year, he shouldn't be learning. But, guys throw ill-advised passes. It's just a fact. It's about how you bounce back. You're going to make a mistake. How quickly can you make up for it by scoring another touchdown? That's what the good teams do. If you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, you think Patrick Mahomes doesn't make a mistake? Now, I know everybody's going to freak out and think I'm comparing Mitch to Patrick Mahomes. I am not. I'm just trying to tell you what full functioning offense does. They don't worry about the mistakes. They attack. And if they make mistakes, they make up for them by making more plays. That's what we should be worried about.
That was stupidity, and that's fine.
And then they followed it up with a great second half. And that's what he should do. Granted, it's against the Jaguars, but still.
Yeah. That's indefensible to a degree, but I'm not going to kill him for that.
Well, the throw is indefensible, but again, it's how you bounce back. If he had continued to do that, then you could kill him. That was what Jay Cutler was known for. He would make one mistake, and then he'd make 6 more mistakes that were the same thing. Mitch has always been better about limiting his mistakes. We always want him to press, a little more downfield to make bigger plays. And then sometimes you make a mistake and then, he can't throw the deep ball. Well, you got to try. And you saw a few times them try to go downfield. That one deep ball to Darnell Mooney that he caught, but it was too deep out of the end zone. They're trying to get things going.
On that long throw. That's one of the things that always seems to be his Achilles heel, especially this year. He's missed on a lot of those deep balls.
Yep.
But he seems to be processing the field better. He's hitting the intermediate routes pretty well. He's using his legs, which is what he needs to be doing. That's really his X factor, and they're winning games. So let him do his thing.
First time since 1965 has a Chicago Bears team put up 30 points in a row, 4 weeks in a row. Now you can talk about the competition all you want, and that's fair and it's fine. But the fact is the fact, and the Bears have done something in these last 4 weeks they have never done offensively in our organization's history, and that isn't to just be slighted at and pushed away. My eyes are wide open, and I am very excited to see how they can take everything they've learned since the first time Mitch came back and played the Green Bay Packers coming out of the bye, and it didn't look pretty, and the Bears ultimately lost the game when they had opportunities to win it. Now they've had, all these games since then under their belt. Let's see how the second run against Green Bay does with this new look offense with Bill Lazor and Mitchell Trubisky. I'm excited for it personally. If they fail, fine. But I'm willing to give these guys an opportunity to show everybody that they've changed, because the numbers show that they have changed. The opponents do not prove that theory out. Next week, depending on what the Packers do, that is going to be a good litmus test. Now, the Packers is not a guarantee they'll win tonight against Tennessee. Tennessee is a great team. So
a very good team.
It's a very good chance the Packers
could snow game. I just saw that Lambeau's got a lot of snow coming down too. Well, so that favors Mr. Derrick Henry pretty well too. So
you would think.
We'll, I would be surprised if the Titans go to Lambeau and win.
It wouldn't be a surprise. And then you know whether or not the Packers are playing their starters. That's where I do think, just like this week where some Bears fans underestimated maybe Jacksonville making this a game. If the Packers announce they're resting or if the Packers win the division tonight, I think people will be underestimating whether or not the Bears are definitely going to win next week. To me, it clouds whether it's going to make the Bears preparation next week harder if the Packers clinch the division, because for the entire week, you're not going to know whether or not they're going to play their starters. You're not going to know their game plan for 4 quarters. So it throws you off. I'd almost sounds crazy. Starters, right? Yeah, it sounds crazy, but you almost would just rather them know that they're coming out with their guns blazing, and then you can be geared up for the big battle. Nobody really wants to back into the playoffs, but you'll take it however you can get it. If the Packers do clinch the division tonight, there is a chance they'll rest their starters next week, but we won't know until kickoff, and it's going to throw everybody, off, and everyone's going to be, leaning on, will they, won't they? Will Aaron Rodgers want to cut our hearts out, or will they be smart and avoid injury? That's going to be a really interesting thing, and we're only going to find that out
honestly,
tonight.
They might do it anyway. They might play their starters regardless of if they win tonight, because they are Aaron. I can't remember who they beat last week, but it wasn't pretty. And Rodgers was pretty upset about it and said in post game, look, if we play like that, even though, a win's a win, it's great, but we're not going to go very far if we play like that. So if they're not satisfied with their offensive production out of this game against the Titans, they may very well put their starters out and try to get some momentum going into the playoffs instead of resting their guys.
100%. You definitely got that in the back of your head if you're a Bears fan. You think Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to screw with us one more time? He absolutely does. Now, they're going to have to balance whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. If they're in that position, do they really want to screw around, stomping on an anthill when they have a mountain to climb, so to speak? We're the anthill, being the Bears, who have no business being in the playoffs, and they have bigger fish to fry, winning a Super Bowl. So screwing around with us, trying to keep us out of the playoffs, when, if you're a Super Bowl team, you shouldn't be worried about the piddly Bears.
I wouldn't be
organizationally, they might be smarter than us, because like I said, in 2010, that's how the Bears played it, and they let the Packers in, and guess what? That came back to haunt them. So, I'm 100% going to be playing that card if the Packers rest their starters and let the Bears in. While that won't feel great, as a Bears fan, because you want to see them win in convincing fashion against a good team, that'll make you feel better going into the playoffs. The one caveat I will say, if that's what it comes to, is the Packers might have just opened Pandora's box, because now you don't know what kind of a Bears team is going to play into the playoffs. And then all of a sudden you might have to play them for a third time, and teams that play each other 3 times in one season, it's not like when you're playing a team you've never played before. It's a totally different ball game. So, the Packers will have a decision to make if they clinch the division tonight. If they don't, then we're going to know they're playing their starters, and we're going to have the battle of all battles next weekend. And maybe Mitch can, exercise the Packer demons like, Jay Cutler once did. And then, the defense let it up to Randall Cobb. I compare that moment. It almost feels exactly the same, because ultimately the Bears lost, didn't make the playoffs. And, Mark Trestman, well, it wasn't until the next year where the wheels came off and Trestman was fired. But that was almost like the final death blow to the Trestman era that was like showing some positivity, because offensively they were doing some things that we had never seen before at that time. So now here we are again, doing things offensively we've never seen before, but hanging on by the smallest of threads. And there's Aaron Rodgers and the Packers waiting for us in the final week of the season. Now, like I said, the last time Jay had the game of his life. Brandon Marshall had this amazing box out pick and roll touchdown in the red zone, and it was glorious, but we didn't pick up a fumble. Julius Peppers didn't pick up a fumble, and then we gave up a Randall Cobb touchdown, and ultimately it's gone down in Packers history. But guess what? Mitch can have his own history this week. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm thinking about. Let's have Mitch has his turn. Let's have the Bears have their turn. God damn it. I'm sick of watching.
We clinched on the Packers in 2018.
Absolutely. That was our turn. We barely ever get a turn. The Packers get a turn every 8 times out of every 10 years. We get once every 10 years. Wouldn't it be nice if we actually get our turn 2 times out of the last 3 years, where we get to beat the Packers and it means something going into the playoffs? Yes, they win the division, but at least we get to make the playoffs and, kind of thumb it at a few people that had written this team off, including you and me, Jake. We can pine the media all we want or people that wrote this team off, but here at Brags on the Stands, we wanted everybody fired. So I'm happy they're proving us wrong. Personally, I know there's a lot of Bears fans upset that this has gone, their master plan of, getting everybody out of here, clean house, and is gone awry. And now we might have to have Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, and Mitchell Trubisky for another year. I'm not upset about it. You only get one chance. You can make the playoffs. Anything can happen. These NFC teams are beatable teams. Do not be scared. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the Bears aren't a perfect team. No, Mitch Trubisky isn't the greatest quarterback. Maybe he isn't even great or good. He's just above average or average quarterback. I don't believe he's a below average quarterback personally, but we don't have to argue about the semantics of what he is. They absolutely can be a team that can win games in this year's playoffs. You underestimate it if you don't think it's possible. And then anything can happen the further you get. So I'm not a person that's looking to next year anymore. We have a chance to make the playoffs and make some noise now. My eyes are fully set. My heart is fully set on it. I had promised Johnny B and our buddy Eric that I would allow them to smack me right across the face if I ever went all in on this team again. And I promise you, we're going to give you that. We are going to give you that smack this week here on Brags on the Stands. I can promise you that much. Really excited for it, Jake. I'm sure Matt Nagy is gearing up to get to the press conference
I'm
here
waiting for it to come up
real soon. And, this is what we do here at Brags on the Stands. Before we get too far, I know we have a few people tuned in, but, George Kittle had, done us the big favor of giving us the opportunity of controlling our own destiny. And I had offered to George Kittle, as you can see in this tweet, name that charity. And, last night he had named, the University of Iowa Children's, hospital. And I always get the Tread Family Hospital. I always get the wording wrong on that. But, so we're doing a giveaway here at Brags in the Stands, and you have an opportunity to win a Peanut Tillman signed jersey with the certificate of authenticity, all because of this guy, George Kittle, bringing home the W last night against the Arizona Cardinals. And I'll play the thing at the end so you can better understand how you can win. And if you go to my Twitter, you can see the link for the University of Iowa's, Children's Hospital donation page. And then all you got to do is show me the screenshot and you have a chance to win. So, moving on, like I said, Jake.
But just to break in for a second.
Absolutely.
It does seem like, according to Fowler, Jay Fowler on ESPN, that Nagy will be the head coach of the Chicago Bears in 2021, regardless of what happens. So this news is starting to kind of trickle out now. This has just got posted up in the last 20 so minutes ago. But it looks like regardless of what will happen, Matt Nagy is safe and he will be back as the head coach of the Bears in 21. What that means for Pace, what that means for, the upper org structure, we don't know. I know there's rumors of what's his face retiring. I know I can't think of his name right now. The big
Ted Phillips.
Ted Phillips.
I'm sorry. I'm tweeting and
I'm trying. Yeah, tee me up, Greg.
I apologize.
Yeah, Ted Phillips might retire. The upper org structure might change, which would be cool to see a little change at the top.
Yeah, I still think that is still on the table to have a new president. People act like that's off the table. It's not.
No, I don't think it is.
So,
it'd be nice. It'd be a nice thing to see.
And any of these guys making it another year doesn't mean they're getting extended for 5-year deals, Nagy included. And I think that's where some fans that are freaking out about this resurgent Bears team are mistaken. That they are only extending their life by 1 year. When the Mark Trestman era ended and they fired Mark Trestman and Phil Emery, they made a catastrophic mistake by giving Jay Cutler a 7-year deal. And Jake can remember, I freaked out when they gave him that deal, lost my mind.
Yeah.
And, the excuse back then was, well, who else are you going to get? I don't care. You got to start over at some point. So I understand the start over mentality. But a 1-year deal and a 7-year deal are two totally different things. So you can be upset about
Mitchie now?
Any of them or any of them.
Well, none of the other guys,
because they're also not going to give Matt or Ryan Pace a 5-year deal.
No, they're
it's it's
still
just
on
about
contract.
letting them finish out their contract. Absolutely.
Right.
So, I mean, as much as personally, if I was the owner, I would be of the mindset of saying, make the playoffs or you're gone, because I'm tough guy Greg over here. But I can also understand now that they've won 8 games. This is now 3 straight seasons where Matt Nagy has not had a losing season by definition. As much as we are wallowing in mediocrity at a chance at another 8-8 year, that's not good either. But you know what else? They're not the shit show that Bears fans, portray them to be on Twitter. Mitch is not the bust that he's portrayed to be on Twitter, but we are reactionary and we want better for our franchise. I understand that for any fan, but you also have to look at it through the lens of an owner, and you have to be fair to it. And as soon as this team started to turn it around, you had to start to think, well, if they get to the playoffs, they should be allowed to retain their jobs. Now, for me, I would say calling it right now that these guys still have their jobs, having these reports out there right now is, to me, too preemptive. If George is leaking this to the media to make Matt Nagy feel better about next week, screw that. Hold his feet to the fire so he feels like next week's a must win. That's how I do it as an owner, but different strokes for different folks. And,
I was always curious if he would actually make that leap, because, a guy like that, when you think I had the coach of the year 2 seasons ago, last year we had a 8-8 year, we had injuries, we had things happen, blah, blah, blah. Then this year to start 5-1 and then have the 6-game collapse, to then come back, win 4 straight, put up 30 plus points, and even a 40 burger like we did today. I'm not surprised if he would be back. But I would hope that he would be of the mind to understand more of a sense of urgency, that this sort of mediocrity that we've been wallowing in as Bears fans for so many years is just, it can't cut it anymore. So I would hope that he would be a little bit more fierce in his decision.
But at the same time, look at a team like the Steelers, who believe in continuity, holding on to your guys, not switching out and running at the first sign of problems. And now you've seen a team, again, as we've said, score 30 points in 4 straight games for the first time in its franchise's history since 1965. Now you've spent all this time, granted, it might have taken too long to figure out, but now you've spent all this time and it seems they've figured some things out, but you're not willing to trust it and you want to wipe the slates clean. That's easier for a fan to say than it is an owner. They've put in the time at Hallis Hall there. They've had to grind through these 2 tough years. They're not out there, playing Monday morning quarterback, criticizing every little move. They're there trying to fix the move. And we're all sitting there like, well, it's so obvious. How can Rashad Coward play? How can this, we're all geniuses on Twitter. If it wasn't for, Twitter and barbershops, geniuses would actually be able to go do their jobs. But unfortunately, they're taking up all their time on Twitter and in the barbershop. So, they figured some things out as it appears, but they obviously need to show it against better talent. But I don't blame ownership for saying, okay, now I want to see a little more of this. Don't be extending anybody, George. No 7-year deals.
No, you let your guys, let them play out their deals another season and see what happens. If you're going to do that, fine. Because especially if the Bears make the playoffs, they're not going to be in a position to be drafting a quarterback more than likely in the first round anyway, especially one of these top 3-4 guys.
Right.
So in that regard, Pace isn't really making that decision, that next franchise quarterback decision necessarily, unless he has the ability to just give up multiple future picks to move up, which I don't know that ownership would be giving him a green light on their blessing for something like that.
I agree. So, it's going to be interesting, and the book is not closed on any of these guys, Mitchell Trubisky included, even in spite of his terrible interception at the end of the first half. How ironic was it, Jake, to see Nick Foles, come in, they benched Mitchell Trubisky, but not because, of poor play, but because of Nick Foles. But before we talk about that, Matt Nagy is at the podium at Hallis Hall, or not at Soldier Field.
Or communicating to the officials.
Jacksonville, wherever.
Well, when that goes on, you always are going to protect your guys. And when, he's a warrior, and he made that catch and run. And then, it was a vicious hit, and nothing against the kid that hit him. But when you're down there, in that game, you want to make
There we
sure
go.
that you're
I'm going to do this instead.
You're good. Do what you got to do, my man.
Did a great job looking at that.
JJ.
Matt, in the third quarter, you kind of start out with that RPO, get that early completion, then you go for it on that fourth down. Were you just feeling like the offense is in a bit of a rhythm at that point when you got to that fourth down, and that kind of led to that decision?
Yeah, we knew, in that position right there, it's a longer, whether you're in the punt or whether you're in the go for it and the field goal, and there's just so many things that go into it. And I think also it shows confidence in your players making plays at crucial times, and our guys did that. And that's important. You have guys that understand that you're going to put the ball in their hands, and that was definitely a turning point in my opinion, to be able to do that. And that's real, and it's a credit to the players.
It's real.
Dan Wiederer.
Matt, as you probably know, the third quarter has not been your strong suit this year. What jump-started that in the third quarter? And also, as you go into week 17, what gives you the most juice about where you guys are at right now?
I would say the third quarter thing, I'll be completely honest with everybody on this call. I have no idea. We've studied it. We've looked at it. It's crazy, the amount of struggle we've had in that third quarter. So I don't know. I don't know when I'll know. But to play well today in the third quarter, part of it is going to be, I think when the season ends, you go back, you say, okay, how many possessions did you get the ball to start the third quarter versus a team that gets the ball to start the third? You have less possession. And then also, are you getting 3 and outs on defense to give you more possession? So, and then are you being productive on offense? And today we did all that. We were able to be productive on offense. We scored touchdowns, and our defense got stops and got the ball back. So you put all that together, and it jumpstarts you, and that happens in the third quarter. And then what was the next one?
Yeah, as far as just going into week 17, right now, what gives you the most juice about where you guys are at?
Well, you win 3 in a row. You feel good about scoring points. I mean, our offense scoring points right now, putting up touchdowns, and we even had a couple right in the red zone that you look back and you realize, okay, man, we could have maybe had even more. And so, but I thought for the most part they did a good job of scoring touchdowns. And then so you start winning. You get out of that losing streak that we had. We had a message for the last 3 weeks about where we're going and what we're doing together. And they've completely done it. This credit goes to all the players and the coaches, and they've responded.
But not Mitch.
And they put us now in a situation where it could have went a lot different direction, and it hasn't. Now, we control things, and that's, as we told you last week, we weren't going to stop or overlook this team. They're a good football team, and they play hard. And I know their record, all that, but they play hard. And now we got to reshift here to a big division opponent in Green Bay.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Matt, what was the message to Mitch at halftime, and what were your conversations? And then what stood out to you about what he did then in the third quarter?
Next play mentality. That's it. That's literally what we talked about. Forget it. Next play. Are you upset or angry about it? Yeah, we all are. But you know what? We learn from it, move on. Don't even think about it. We go in at halftime. We figure out what the hell we're going to do on offense, and we're going to score points and keep this mojo going. And that's exactly what he did. So again, it's he's doing a lot of great things, and he's helping us out offensively. And there's a lot of confidence right now collectively.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Matt, the performance from A-Rob today, where does that rank among the games that you've been with him? He seemed dialed in, particularly getting you first downs as often as he did.
Yeah, it was big. You have a game like this, and he ends up making plays on crucial third downs. And, again, for him to have 100 catches here against his former team, it's pretty cool. But you realize a player like him that makes these plays and does this well to help our team out. It's just the confidence keeps growing with these guys, and he's a big part of the success.
Brad Biggs.
Hey, Matt, along with the success you guys have been able to have here in the third quarter a little bit recently, opening drive of the game, it seems like you guys have been better at that as well. Is that kind of getting dialed in with the first 15 that I'm sure you and Bill kind of do collectively? And then I had a second question. I was just wondering on the Cole Kmet run. Are you trying to catch him off balance there, or what's the thinking behind the play? I'm sure you guys would like back.
Yeah. You know what? So I'll start with the first question. Well, in regards to Cole, I'll go to Cole. In the game right there, you're like, you're in a position where you got the ball at the 1 yard line, and that play really looked good all week in practice. And everybody there probably knew that was coming, and we all felt it. And we got them to jump. Well, we didn't get them, but they jumped off sides, I think, and then they ended up giving a different look. Credit to them. And if there's a play where we all look back and say, darn, you get the ball at the 1 yard line, you come across with 3 points. That one's one that you look back at. But our guys rebounded. They came back from that. What was the first question?
Go ahead, Brad.
What was your first one, Brad?
The opening drive. A little more dialed in with the scripted calls early. What goes into that?
Yeah, it's just for the number one, the players, right? No matter what plays are called, who's calling them, when they're called, all that, all season long, it always is going to come.
Can you hear it, Jake?
Every play that is called. And so
You hear it?
we always get together as a staff, and we talk through. I think that's kind of the part that I was getting to too. Where we talk through, okay, schematically, what stuff do we like as coaches, and we'll get together at the end of the week after we see how plays look. And we didn't do that as much on the front end of the season, and so now we're doing it more, and it's I think it feels right, it feels good. And then the players got to execute it.
Last one, Mark Potash.
Hey, man, this seemed like a continuation of Mitch's resurgence. I know you mentioned the next play.
Ballard is healthy.
What is it about him executing plays that is different or better? What strikes you about what he's doing out there and just running this offense and making those simple plays?
Well, he's very comfortable schematically in what we're doing. And schematically, when you're able to run the football, schematically, when you start growing off of what you've done in years past with some other adjustments, whether it's some stuff from the gun, run and pass. It's just, I think the time together has really, there's a combination of stuff, but the time that he's grown in this offense, the highs and lows that he's had, the communication now that he gives us, we work through that throughout the week to where we condense it and we get the game plan to where he feels really good. And then now what happens is schematically with the stuff we're doing, which is obviously different than what we've been doing, he feels comfortable. We feel comfortable with it. We have great weeks of practice. We keep defenses kind of on their heels. And then if they decide to shut something down, one part of the offense, then we got to be able to have a counter with something else. And I thought that that's a little bit of what we got into today, because they
couldn't run the
did a
ball.
good job in the start of the game in the first half.
They had a really high
down some of
the
our
pass balance
runs.
to run was a bit
So,
high too. They didn't
credit our coaches
commit
for
to it
making some
early.
adjustments. We got to some different things and it worked.
Exactly.
Thanks, Coach.
It's a punch counter.
Trubisky coming up. Bears win 41-17. They're now 8-7.
Stop.
An identical record with the Arizona.
That's right,
Cardinals.
Lou Canellis.
Hold the
Bears
tiebreaker when it comes to
are-
getting into the playoffs. Back after this on Channel 50.
No, you're good.
There it goes.
Old Lou Canellis, legend. We got to bring him on sometime. We appreciate them helping us out. Bring in
We missed one part of the press conference, and it was Matt was talking about Bill Lazor calling the plays, and he said it allows me to be the best head coach I can be. It works for us.
Huh.
So if that's the case, maybe you don't see Matt Nagy in 2021 as a play caller for the Bears.
But then they have to bring back Mitch. That's what I was going to say when he was talking about at the end, where he says we've learned kind of being together for so long, what we like to do, what we don't like to do. And, schematically now running the ball out of the gun and not out of the gun and what works best for us. Now we figured it out. Well, then you're going to get rid now. You figured it out, and you're going to get rid of him. The guy that – because, all right, yeah, you can get a better quarterback than Mitch. There's no question about that. But this guy saved your job. If you choose to then try to find a different quarterback and it's about the schematic, we figured it out. Now we'll just get the right quarterback that isn't as dumb as Mitch, won't throw the red zone interceptions like he did at halftime. No. If George McCaskey is giving these guys one more year to make it or break it, you got to go all in one more time with Mitch. Draft a quarterback, let him develop, and continue what you've learned here these last 4 years. Anything else is a flip of the coin whether or not it'll work. Everybody thought Cam Newton going to New England would work. Didn't work out so great. I
don't think Mitch's best opportunity is here. It's here in Chicago. I don't think anyone's going to run out and offer him starter money and give him the job anywhere in the league. I don't think that's.
And again,
wherever he's at, he's going to be competing.
Matt Nagy's job just got saved, and you're not going to keep Mitch, the dude that saved his job. Nah, that doesn't make too much sense to me.
I think he'll get back. I think you're concerned that he's just gone, and I don't see it that way. I still think this is the best place for Mitch to have an opportunity in the league, and I do think that they'll extend him, because another thing that they released earlier today, and it's all whatever, conjecture, speculation. I don't know what's true or not, but they had some stuff in Twitter where it's saying Bears upper management has been wondering what the season would have looked like if they never went away from Trubisky. And that was another report that came out during the game. I
wonder who the one saying that.
If that's true, it had to be George, I imagine. But or it's Ryan Pace, because I'm sure Ryan Pace didn't necessarily want to go away from Trubisky so early in the season necessarily. But yeah, you do leave yourself wondering. And like we were talking about earlier, I'm surprised no one's really said to him, hey, how do you feel about this decision in hindsight now that we're at this point?
Right. And, it probably was Ryan Pace. These guys get along, and it seems like they're one mind, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. But, Ryan Pace isn't a head coach. So he's getting all this talent and bringing it in, and Matt Nagy's not necessarily using it the right way. And I'm sure Ryan Pace has his own opinions, just like we all do sitting at our house watching the games. But when you're trusting a head coach to run a team, you're not going to go down there and go, hey, Matt, you're going to make suggestions, but, rarely is the GM going to demand how you're going to play the game on the field. So he might have had his thoughts like, well, maybe if Matt was doing this or that different, my number 2 pick in the draft, the quarterback might look a little better. I'm sure those thoughts crossed his mind. It feels like now we have a lot more answers as far as why. Matt always says the why, and I feel like we haven't heard that as much from Matt. The why. I have to look into the why. Well, I think he understands now the what, and they just got to do it. And there's going to be mishaps. They're not perfect players on this team, so we're going to make mistakes. It's just about win next week. They're in the playoff. This was the playoffs this week against a terrible team. Next week's the playoffs against a team we don't know what type of Green Bay team we're going to face.
That's true.
Yet. But
they do own the tiebreaker. I did double check. I know you might already know this, but the Packers do own the tiebreaker over the Saints. They both have 11 wins right now. So if the Packers do win tonight, they basically do have nothing to play for.
Right, nothing to play for. Exactly.
So,
but then,
point,
like I said,
maybe they play 2 quarters.
But that to me sets up harder for the Bears. If the Packers win tonight and have clinched everything, we have no idea what the Packers are going to do next Sunday. And we will run through every scenario all week. And so will the coaches and so will the players. Will they play their starters? Won't they? Will they play for a half? Will they do it like a feeling out thing? And if they're not getting to the quarterback, they'll leave him in longer. Or you just don't know. There's a whole bevy of scenarios that can play out, and that's going to make it harder for preparation for Matt Nagy and this coaching staff. So I almost want them to just play a Packers team ready to go, and let's beat that team, on my chest.
In this offense this year.
Yeah, I think we've just put more of an emphasis on situational football, and I think it all starts with just communication in the huddle, me letting the guys know like what the down distance is. It's 4th and 5. We got to have this one. We have to have it. So once I let everybody know that, obviously everybody knows that, but I think me saying that, it gets everyone locked in. Everyone's listening to the play. We go out there, we're believing in the call, And then we just go out there and execute it. They gave us a good look. They brought a little pressure. I just fade to the left, and A-Rob beat the guy up on a nice slant route, and it worked out for us. But
A-Rob was destroying people today.
Yeah, and that's going to be crucial to their success next year if they're running it back, that they get A-Rob extended.
Franchise tag.
Or franchise them. It might take that. He might be looking for greener pastures.
How did you, Coach Nagy said you just sort of went to next play mentality after that pick there at the end of the second quarter. Is that easy to do? How do you process that?
Yeah, it was it was frustrating because I knew right away I made a bad decision trying to do too much, extending a play, probably just throw that one away or tuck it and run upfield and get some yards. So I was frustrated by I frustrated myself just making a decision like that. But yeah, I just talked to Coach Flip on the sidelines. He got me right. I was able to lock back.
I was wondering who was talking to him there.
At halftime so we can come out and have a big third quarter. But that's exactly what it was. It was next play mentality. I just settled down a little bit, not trying to force things. And it just allowed us to execute and have a big third quarter.
Mike Berman.
And Mitch was going to ask you about the third quarter, forgetting kind of an up and down first half, the bad pick in the end zone. And then you guys just really do a great job offensively in the third quarter. What was said at halftime, and then what allowed you guys to be so effective in the third?
Yeah, we kind of just said, let's just go out and be us. We weren't finishing the way we wanted to finish. We weren't executing on all cylinders like we can. So let's play 11 as one. Let's go out there, be us, and let's have some fun in the third quarter in the second half. So there wasn't really too much said. Everyone knew what they had to do, but we just went out and did it, and it made for a fun third quarter. And a lot of it started up front, just the O-line creating holes for the running backs and giving me time to make decisions and get the ball to our playmakers. And then on top of that, our defense was lights out in the third quarter with some 3-and-outs, getting the ball back for us and giving them absolutely nothing on offense for the third quarter. So the defense stopping and getting us the ball back, and then we were just rolling a little bit in the third quarter. It was just everyone being locked in and playing the way we know we're capable of.
Jason Leisure.
Mitch, did you feel like overall today you guys got a continuation of the progress that you've been making offensively?
Second half, yes. I thought we could have been a little bit better in the second quarter. Just with our communication, being faster in and out of the huddle and getting substitutions in the game a little bit better. And I thought we cleaned it up the second half. So I think it was just some self-inflicted stuff in the second quarter, but we made those adjustments at halftime, came out and was playing fast in the third and fourth quarter. So that's good. Teams make adjustments, and they know when to self-correct and when to get on each other and just communicate. And we were able to make those adjustments, and I think we did make some progress, especially in the third quarter, just putting the game away and coming away with a win as a team.
Dan Wiederer.
Mitch, on the interception, what was it that convinced you to cut it loose? And then also on the second touchdown pass to me, what did you with the way that game open?
I didn't hear the last part. The second what pass to Mooney?
The second touchdown pass to Jimmy.
Oh, to Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the interception, I saw A-Rob put his hand up and then the DB fell down. And then I was trying to get it up to him, and I figured it was just going to be a jump ball, and I was kind of getting hit as I was throwing, so it didn't come out the way I wanted it. It fluttered in the air a little too long, and I believe the linebacker came over and made a good play on it. So I knew it was a 50-50 ball. Everything's happening within split milliseconds, and it turned out to be a bad decision. But the DB fell down, and I was trying to give A-Rob a chance to make a big play. But I just got to continue to stay within this offense and stay within myself, just to make better decisions for this offense. And as for the second touchdown, we had a little double move on with Jimmy, and we had man coverage, and he ran a great route. The safety that was covering him fell down, and I just put in a spot where only he could catch it, and he stayed on his feet and he fell at the end, but he made a great grab. That was a big play for us.
Kevin Fishbane.
Mitch, I know it's been obviously a challenge for the offense over the past couple of years to stack games back to back to back, and you guys have now had 4 in a row with 30+ points. Franchise hasn't done that in 65 years. What is the feeling like for you as a quarterback to just have that confidence now week in, week out that you guys are operating at this level?
I think it does give us confidence, and I think it all starts with an expectation, just having a high expectation for ourselves in this offense that this is what we're capable of and nothing less is going to be acceptable. So I think if we just have that mentality and are locked in at practice and are just demanding of each other while also having each other's backs with throughout the process, we can continue to keep growing and progressing, and who knows what we can do within this offense. But we got to be proud of the work, but also know that the expectations are higher and higher for us each week when we keep getting better.
Joe Phillips.
All right, congratulations, Mitch, on the win today. This question is for next week's game. How important is it to come out as game busters against the Packers after what they did in the last game against you guys?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. We know what's at stake this weekend. We're going to enjoy the win tonight and then start preparation tomorrow. But it just sets up for a special opportunity to finish our season strong against a rival like this. So it's a must-win game, just like these last couple of games have been. And we definitely want to play our best ball and finish strong. So we just got to keep getting better. Go back to work this week. Have a great week of practice, and go out there to give ourselves a great chance on Sunday.
A couple more. Mark Grody.
Mitch, I know you discussed what the thriving offense means for the team, but what has this meant to you personally? It's been a crazy season for you.
It's been good. I just feel lucky and blessed to be able to play, to be back in this offense, to be out there with my guys playing. And it's been a crazy season, but I'm just fortunate to be out there, to be able to play, and to be able to help this team win. So,
how surprised are you that you're back in the playoff positioning?
How we battled through adversity, not only myself, but we battled adversity as a team. And we just continue to come closer together, and that's how you create special memories, just getting through the tough times and enjoying the great times together. So we got a great opportunity this week to continue to finish strong and get better, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And it's been a fun ride.
Last Biggs.
Mitch, were you able to watch the 49ers win last night? If so, where were you guys at? What was the mood like? How did that go down?
I didn't watch it. I was just checking the score. Because I know when I watch games, it won't work out the way I want them to.
He thinks like a fan.
I was checking the score. I was getting updates and texts from other people. I was trying not to pay attention. But
got a little superstition.
That's not good as a player when you have that kind of ticks in your head.
He played really well.
Those dudes wear
I'm happy for
5-year-old socks that never been washed.
They really helped us out.
That's how I am.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, guys.
I know what Mitch goes through.
Oh, I know what Mitch goes through too.
We all do. And, so he certainly seems comfortable. It was interesting to hear his thoughts on being back. I think it's even crazier to not only be back in the starting quarterback spot, but to have an opportunity to make it's up to him whether or not they make it. It's not, you no longer need help. And the idea that they lost 6 games in a row, he was out for like 2 months. And
he coming off his shoulder injury too,
right? Yeah. And to think that now it's his destiny he controls. I mean, that is unbelievable storybook stuff if they can finish it the right way. Although some stories finish in failure and sadness, so we'll see how it goes. Bears fans have read the end of that book one too many times, and like I said, all eyes are on Packer Week now. We're gonna do a lot of fun coverage this week and be talking all Bears Packers. We have moved on from the Bears and Jaguars game. That's great. They won in a blowout. Mitch had a few touchdowns, 1 rushing, few passing. I think the defense did a few things nice, but we want to see a little more from them. Mike Glennon, making us nervous at the beginning. But here's our big announcement of the day. And I finally got the time this morning. I was all over the place, and I couldn't remember. We were deciding between Tuesday and Wednesday when I had initially lined this up with Patrick to come on. But as you see at the bottom of our screen, on Tuesday night at a special time, a special day and a special time with a special guest, we are going to have none other than Patrick Manley, former Chicago Bear, the longest tenured Chicago Bear ever to put on a Bears uniform, is going to be coming to the Brags in the Stand studio to talk a little Bears-Packers, and he knows the Bears-Packers rivalry better than anybody. We're also going to be having on our good buddy Darren from Bernie's Book Bank. So, he's helping Patrick Manley along with his long snapper award that they have just started here in the recent years, where Patrick, the long snapper of the year award is named after Patrick Manley. And he gives it away to the best long snapper in college football. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the Chicago Bears, of course, facing off against the Green Bay Packers, and give Darren a little crap because, of course, he's a Packer fan. We can't go Packer week without harassing a Packer fan. I'll have to try to pull up some of my old video, Jake, where in our old lives where we used to be able to go out where I'm, harassing a Packer fan somewhere. I've got more than a few. We've shared some here early in the season. So we are very excited again to have Patrick Manley on this Tuesday night. We're starting off Packer week right here, right now, but we're going to continue it on Tuesday night at 5 p.m. A little Brags in the Stand special with them.
5 p.m. Central, right?
5 p.m. Central. That is correct, Jacob. And, we'll talk a little bit, after the time with Patrick, but that's more of a special. And then later in the week, either on Saturday or we'll do another Sunday morning, game day special like we did today here at Brags in the Stands for, all our picks in, have Johnny B come back. I don't think he'll be at the game next week. So, maybe we'll do it Saturday. Who knows? Saturday or Sunday. We'll figure it out. There are football games on Saturday again next week as well. So, but all eyes are on Bears Packers. We don't have to worry about the Cardinals playing the Rams. Ironically enough, though, and you don't like to talk like this, though, but another reason why you might think the Packers might just choose to rest their starters is, like I said on the pregame show, if the Rams were to still be playing for something next week, and if there was a scenario where even though the Packers spent all that time beating the Bears could still get in if the Cardinals lose next week to the Rams. Yeah. So do the Packers want to weigh screwing around with the Bears when they don't even know if beating them is actually going to keep them out anyway? They're going to have a layered, discussion there to make their decision. The Bears, know they have to go all out no matter what. Yeah. And that's the mentality they should carry. So,
but there's been some talk about flexing the Bears into the afternoon games because that's when the Cardinals are playing. So sometimes the NFL likes to have these matchups.
Yeah, they're going to definitely line these up.
So more than likely it will get flexed into the afternoon. I know the Saints right now are scheduled to play at noon kickoff, and so we'll see what happens there. But I mean, what are you doing tonight? Are you rooting for the Packers to win?
I mean, my brain says to just root for the Packers to win. They rest their starters. Bears get in. I get to make fun of Chris Bleck on Twitter, but
win-win.
But the heart in me and my gut says it's almost better for the Bears that if the Packers lose and they're playing for something, because it's always opposite day with the Bears. It is always opposite day with the Bears. So this week we all thought, it ended up being a blowout, but it wasn't easy at first. And there were some Bears fans surprised. I was not. Now next week, it wouldn't surprise me if they rested their starters for half the game and the Bears screwed around again. And we're like pulling our hair out because they didn't beat them to perfection like we want. Mm-hmm. But then maybe it would be better for these guys if the Packers were just playing for something and they knew they just had to, there is a mentality thing when it comes to that. It's the truth, it happens in all sports, and so I don't, really know what I want. What if you told me the Bears were going to win no matter what? I'd rather than play the Packers team playing for something. That's going to give this team the ultimate momentum heading into the playoffs, not this fabricated momentum that they got beating a bunch of useless teams and teams that are resting their starters. But, we all just want, we're all
ultimately,
greedy.
You just want to get into the dance, right?
Yeah, we all everybody wants everything easy in life, right? And so we just lay down for us next week, Green Bay, please, so we can get in. That's just how I've always looked at the Bears, Richie. I always go against the grain. It feels that way with the Bears, but that's because I've been trained as a Bears fan to expect that. And I don't know why Bears fans get surprised, this year at the beginning of the year when they were winning in miraculous fashion and then losing in miraculous fashion. I'm like, when have we seen this before? Every year, or there'll be a game where the quarterback throws 5 interceptions, but somehow the Bears win. And they're like, how have they ever done this? The Bears have done that like 5 times in my life. Any other team would be their first time in franchise history. We are known for this. So, Matthew Bursley in the chat, he believes the Titans are going to win. And if that's the case,
I can see that.
The Packers are playing for something and the Bears are facing a team that they, and I would like that test. The Bears, when Mitch first came in, after the benching, coming off the bye, they went into Green Bay and it didn't look good. Now we get to have all these wins all these weeks later, and let's see if they're ready for the challenge. And if they're not, it would be disappointing. But then, you're reporting that, you're hearing through the Twitter sphere that these guys are already decided to keep their job. I kind of was of the mindset that, hey, maybe if they don't make the playoffs, accountability will still be had. And then, like I said, there is the caveat that you could lose next week. And if the Cardinals lose next week, you're still in. So there's some different variables here at play. Ultimately, we just want to see the Bears win, however it may be. And the number one on the list being win against a Packers team playing for something. Because now you're legitimizing all this stuff we've seen for the last 4 weeks. And maybe truthers will have a little more of an argument to be had when it comes to the real changes that Matt Nagy, he keeps saying this is real. You heard him say that a few times. He's not talking about this is the why, find out the why. He's saying this is real. So if it's real, then you're going to move the ball next week and score at will against the Green Bay Packers. And, if it's a shootout against Aaron Rodgers, your margin of error is very small. So Mitchell Trubisky cannot be forcing into the end zone. Mitchell Trubisky has got to have ball security when he's scrambling. How many times have we seen it and it pops out? This time it popped out and came back in fortuitously for him. It's not always going to work out that way. And you cannot give when you've got a small margin of error unless the defense all of a sudden wakes up, which I'm not ruling out, because the defense with a team that has Khalil Mack on your side of the ball is capable of blowing up any game. But
but we're not seeing a lot of that.
We have not seen it. Robert Quinn and Khalil had a couple flashes here a couple weeks ago. I think it was against the Texans, maybe, but
they're forcing plays that are finished by other players more than they're finishing them themselves. And they did that today. Khalil Mack forced, I can't remember who had that. I think it was Nichols when Nichols had that sack. Mack was integral in making that work, that, everything fall into fruition that way. But they're not getting home themselves. I don't know why today was disappointing, Jeremy. But
he thinks that building confidence is what I believe he thinks he says. And I get where he's coming from. This was supposed to be the get right game for the defense. And I don't really know if we would
call right in the second half. They came out flat, but
they did, but it was a balance of, although they did force the interception all of a sudden at the end of the first half in that chaos of Mitch making the mistake and then Glennon turning the ball over. That was actually a huge swing because the Bears were able to get 3 points and then stack that with the touchdown coming out of the second half. And now all of a sudden they're up 10 and the defense is able to, be a little more aggressive.
Sure.
So while the defense did their job, I wouldn't say it was anything that I'm going to earmark.
I see what you're saying. I think the most disappointing part about it is just how much money is slammed into that side of the ball. And they've been a little lackluster, but they did settle down and they played really well in the second half. And you got to, put your head, you can hang your hat on that and feel good about it. The thing is, though, this is the modern NFL now. Teams are going to score points if you can make enough plays on the defensive side of the ball to keep your team in, while your team is averaging, damn near 30 points a game. That's what you need. That's good. You can win like that. It's just interesting because the Bears are so heavily invested on that side of the ball.
And I wouldn't, Kyle Lilly, our good buddy here, is in the chat saying Mac's not stepping up. I think a fan, will watch on TV or at the stands, and if he's not getting the sacks like he does in some games where he's dominating a left tackle or right tackle, whatever, you would think that. But to me, either, I did see somebody add in the caveat that he could be playing hurt, but, he has all the attention coming his way. I don't love, when it's at the beginning of the game, when it was 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 12, and Mike Glennon converted both those third downs, and they're just sending 4. They were never they never blitzed Mike Glennon. At least it seemed like that at first. And I don't know, I guess, the Jaguars aren't a good team, so you're just going to lean on them until they make the mistakes, and they ultimately did today. And, the Bears won in convincing fashion, even though it was close at halftime. So maybe that was the game plan all along. But, Mac is certainly the last guy anyone should worry about on this team. Whether or not he's hurt the last couple of years, I guess he has been a little bit banged up. But Khalil Mack is one of the best defenders this team has ever had. You need other guys to step up. Eddie Jackson, he's getting the big money now. And I'm no tape expert, so I don't know how much ground he covers and how much they avoid him because of his prowess of being a guy that's a ball hawk. But I'm not seeing the Eddie. That's what's missing from the 2018 Magic was the Bears would take a little bit of a lead, and then all of a sudden those Hawks in the secondary would get one and take it to the house, and all the defenders were doing a cool touchdown celebration that now everybody in the NFL copies, and Gibson, as somebody Jeremy Foyer points out, is taking it right out of my breath. He almost had the interception near the end zone where that was like the one ball they jumped. And I feel like they're playing on their heels so much. Where is that aggressiveness from the secondary that we used to have? I'm seeing some good tackling. Kyle Fuller certainly laid the wood on some guys this year. Eddie Jackson's been, a lot of fans have been complaining about his tackling this year.
His tackling has been poor. But I don't know how much teams, like you said, I don't know how much teams are actually challenging him, because earlier in the season he was calling them out to throw it my way, see what happens. And I don't know how much he's actually being challenged, but in run support and making his tackling, it's been a little below average.
So I don't know whether or not Jalen Johnson will be back next week. I hope he is. I'm not really sure. They didn't put him on IR, so that would lead you to believe he's either going to be ready this week or for the playoffs. And now you've added, like we were talking about this morning with Brendan at B. Schultz, the man of Bears Twitter, about the emergence of Kindle Vildor. You've also got Duke Shelley. I believe he had a penalty though today at one point.
DJ Shark caught that touchdown over.
But and it was a little bit of a veteran move. It was a great catch, and he had a slight little push off to create that just enough separation at the very back end of the play. And obviously the ref didn't call it, and it was a great catch. But I'm not going to blame too much there on Kindle. He was there. Yeah. It's a great catch. You got to
be nice to get Buster back. I know he's been out on concussion, so hopefully, he's feeling good to come back next week.
Is it blasphemous? Because I am no football expert. I will always preface this here on Brags and Stands. I am a fan that likes to go to games, that right now is quarantined to our house, and we are providing you some fun coverage of this Bears team while we are, sequestered to our house. But one day I will be in the stands. But am I crazy to say that I would almost rather have Kindle Vildor in Buster Screen's spot? I mean, when Buster was in there, that was the guy they were going after. And he, I remember in Tennessee, he had the big touchdown, they gave up from it, AJ Brown over the top. It was a great throw. He was all over it actually, and I feel bad for him, but I like what I'm seeing from Kindle Vildor. I'm not exactly sure how he did today.
I think even if he is healthy, and I don't know how much, maybe the Bears are being very precautious with him, but it's very much kind of forecasted that one of your cap casualties is going to be Buster Screen next year, because you can release him and save some money on the cap there. So they might be gingerly working him back.
Callahan.
They might be gingerly working him back so they can see what they have in some of these other guys at the position. So if that's the case, we'll see. But I don't disagree with you. I think they've been shown out and playing well. I thought Buster had a pretty, at least earlier in the season, I thought he was having a pretty good year. But yeah, he does have his moments, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like them all. I thought Buster was a good signing, but hey, I'm always guys that are hungry, keep giving them opportunities. Just because it's a good problem to have if you use everybody. So the Bears
are going to have to make some decisions next year too. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves now talking about 2021 when 2020 is right in our face, but they are going to have to make some decisions on the defensive side of the ball of what they do with X players. I mean, what if they move Kyle Fuller for some picks and
Right.
to, you don't know. So if they have these intriguing guys in the secondary and maybe you pick up another guy in the draft, maybe they feel like they can expend something like that, especially if Jalen keeps ascending the way that he's doing. He's a good player. So I'm hoping that his shoulder is right and at least we get Jalen Johnson back next week.
That would be ideal because then they would be a real threat, against Green Bay.
They're going to need it against those receivers.
Absolutely. So I think that about wraps things up. We've surpassed the hour mark here at Braggs and the Stands post-game show, and we're going to, like as I just said earlier, we are going to be bringing you a lot of coverage this week. It's Packer week officially, and we're kicking it off Tuesday night, December 29th at 5 p.m. Central. Patrick Manley, former Chicago Bear, the longest tenured Bear in Chicago Bears history. So, I couldn't be more excited about it. Patrick's going to break down Bears Packers with us and let us know what we need to know and what he's seen from this resurgent Bears team. So, it's just going to be exciting. And then we'll do some more stuff as the week goes on. Any final thoughts, Jake, before I do my final shout out ramble bit?
No, I don't know. I mean, the Bears did what they were supposed to do today. You should feel good about that. The defense stepped up in the second half, and they played a good game. So hopefully we get our guys healthy and can put a good game together next week and get this playoff spot on our own merits. But if we luck into the playoffs, I'll take that too.
Let's go. I'm excited for it. Really excited for it. We did our job. You're gonna have to work on this graphic and maybe, obviously the Packers are now the king of the North and we will respect their
say the king of the wild card.
Yeah, just put like a little X through it, and then or like a something like where it graffitied out and then on the little bottom right put wild card.
Yeah. Extended wild card.
Yeah, extended. Please do that. Release it upon the masses. But we're back.
It does seem like week 17, or I'm sorry, not week 17, but 17 NFL games will be played next year. So that should be interesting as well. So maybe they'll keep that extended playoff situation going. I think it's cool to have an extra spot. And does there need to be 2 buys? I don't think so. You give 1 buyout, get an extra spot. Everybody loves seeing the underdog play in the playoffs. So why not? Why not keep it going?
Absolutely. And bear down, this guy's hyped again, when we were 3-0, and I'm right there with him. I'm just as hyped. Why not, man? This is what we all wanted, is the Bears to make the playoffs. Anybody that didn't think they were going to get in other than by the skin of their teeth is fooling themselves. This is how the Bears do it every single time. And the day they ever win it, it will be by the skin of their teeth. So don't give up just yet, Bears fans. They ain't ever winning the Super Bowl in convincing fashion, in case you were thinking they were one day. We're rooting our boy Mitch on. I thought he was done, Jake. I thought his career as a Chicago Bear was over.
Oh, no.
Little did I know we had only just begun. We have come full circle. We made it through the Mike Glennon test. It's just like when the Cubs won it, it's like Indiana Jones in the 3 stages in the Last Crusade, and the Mitch had to get through the Mike Glennon test, and now he reaches the final test to face the king of the North in Aaron Rodgers. And yes, the playoffs are coming, and one Virginia McCaskey will be there.
Look at the intensity in her eyes.
So we're excited here at Braggs in the Stands. Again, make sure you donate over. Hold on, before you hit the funky music, I do want to say again, for those of you that are still tuned in, you know what? I'll just play it again so I don't have to explain. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Braggs from Braggs in the Stands, and we've got a special announcement tonight. I asked George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers to beat the Arizona Cardinals tonight, and then all he had to do was name that charity, and I was going to make sure some money got donated that way. And that's exactly what he did, so that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I've already donated $100 to the University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital, and I want you to do as well. And you know what? I'm going to give you an incentive. Since it's the Christmas season, I'm feeling the giving. George Kittle gave us an absolute gift. So Bears fans, I need you to step up to the plate, and you are going to get this gift. A signed Charles Tillman jersey with a certificate of authenticity, Peanut Punch, the man, the myth, the legend, heading to the Hall of Fame one day, I have no doubts. But George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in football, did us a huge favor, stepped up in the pocket, and now I need you, Bears fans, to do the same as well. So that's all you got to do. Donate a minimum of $5 to the University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital, and you'll have a chance to win this jersey. I'll send it right to your house, safe and sound, and you'll have a Merry Christmas. We really appreciate it, George, and we're happy to contribute to the charity of your choice, and that's what we're going to do here. We know you love the Bears, and we love that what you did for us today. We appreciate it. Thank you to the 49ers. Thank you, George Kittle. Let's step up, Bears fans. He did for us, and always bear down. Let's go. We're back. That's right, baby. We are back. What's that?
You ready for the music?
I'm ready for that music. Thank you again, George Kittle, for all your help. We have hit the shutout. Play that funky music, Jake boy. We have won. Play that funky music, Jake boy. We're one down, one to go. Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. It's Packer week, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you tune in all week long to all our coverage. We're excited for it. I wish everybody a Happy New Year to the next show. I do want to thank everyone and wish everyone a Merry Christmas and everybody that hung out for the Christmas Eve special. That was a lot of fun. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out for the post-game show. I want to once again thank Brendan at B. Schultz for coming on the pregame show this morning. And again, thank you to all our viewers and listeners for hanging out all week long. And we'll be tuning in to you, bringing you the best Bears Packers coverage we can possibly give you here at Brags in the Stands. So I am Jake. I am Greg. This is my guy, Jake. I keep punching my damn hand. The Chicago Bears are back. This is Brags in the Stands. Let's get it. Beat the Pack in the playoffs. Let's go. Right on, Mitch. We're back.